Hello, welcome to episode 62 of Fluffy Fibres, the French podcast in English on sewing, knitting and spinning a handmade wardrobe from head to toe. Hello and thank you so very much for joining me today. My name is Isabelle and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Fluffy Fibres, and you can find the show notes for all the podcast episodes at fluffyfibres.com. And you can also find a Ravelry group for the knitters amongst you, a Ravelry group which is Fluffy Fibres Podcast. So thank you for joining me today and welcome, a very warm welcome to you if you're new to this podcast. Today's episode is going to be it's not going to be a regular episode because I usually have both sewing and knitting and sometimes even a bit of spinning at the end. But this time, this particular episode is going to be entirely devoted to what I've been sewing in the past 6 weeks or so. Yes, so I just recorded a knitting episode 61, which I put out just a few days ago, and so yes, I wanted to record the sewing episode quite close to it since it had been so long since I last podcast. So for today's episode we're going to have my cup of tea, all my finished makes as regards sewing, and then my sewing plans for the next few weeks. And yes, that's going to be it for today. I do have loads of things to share with you today because I have been quite busy at the sewing machine, and especially I have been very, very motivated to sew for others, as you will see. So there's only one thing for me among all of my makes. So for my cup of tea today, on this warm day of June, I am having a cup of green tea which is organic from Les Jardins de Gaïa, and it is flavoured with mango, apricot and I think peach and vanilla and natural extracts. And yeah, it's called Jardin Enchanté, so enchanted garden. And it's one of my favourite summer teas because it's a very, very summery kind of flavour. My finished makes, I'm going to start with what I'm wearing, which is a Butterick pattern. It is Butterick 6453. So it's not the first thing I finished since last time, but since I was wearing it, I just figured that I should start with this. So this is a dress which was designed by Gertie, and so for Butterick. And it is a very vintage inspired dress with a very, very full skirt, a bodice with princess seams, and yes, the skirt is simply a very, very wide rectangle that you gather. And my favourite features in this dress is definitely in the bodice. So the princess seams, which do give a perfect fit, and also the back, which is very graceful. And yeah, I really, really like this bodice. I would definitely use it again for other dresses. I was less convinced by the skirt when I finished this because it's such a very, very full skirt, as you can see. But in the end I do like it. In the end I do very much like it. I was afraid this very, very full skirt wouldn't be so very flattering, but in the end it does work really fine. So I'm really quite happy about this dress. I made this inspired by Kristin, who at the very beginning of Me Made May, I think the first day, showed her version of this dress, and I really, really liked it. And I did remember, it did remind me that she'd made this dress last year. And so yeah, because it was my birthday on May the 4th, that was my birthday treat really that day. I went to my local fabric shop and purchased the pattern. And initially I also considered buying some floral fabric because you have a lot of versions of this pattern online with beautiful bold floral prints. and Kristin's version is absolutely stunning as well. But in the end, I think she used a border print, but in the end I decided to do the more sustainable thing, shall we say, and use some fabric from my stash. So I didn't have much fabric in my stash that could work because you do need 3 meters of fabric. So I do have a lot of fabric, but not many 3-meter cuts. But I did have this purple poplin or broadcloth, which I realised would work well because the dress is very dressy in a way. I think having a plain, pretty dark fabric does tone it down somehow, and it does make it, I feel, more wearable in everyday life. And I really do love this very deep purple. So yes, so in the end I went with something from my stash, which I find is great because this was a birthday treat, but as I have been mentioning over and over, you know, in the past few episodes, I really am making more and more of an effort to be more, even more mindful of, you know, my consumption in terms of my making. And of course, Meg, Mrs. M's Curiosity Cabinets podcast has been a huge eye-opener in this respect, because her podcast is all about trying to balance our urge to make and, of course, the sustainable aspect of handmaking, of making things by hand, versus because we are makers, we are also very much driven towards material, so versus our urge also to get more things in order to make things. So also the Love to Sew podcast, which is an audio podcast, which is absolutely amazing. I always listen to it when I'm sewing. They recently devoted a few episodes to this question of sustainability. So they did one episode where they shared tips. Then they had Aidan Owen, the knitting monk, also on their show, and this was an amazing episode as well, very inspiring. And then they just very recently had a follow-up episode on the sustainability topic, where they shared lots of what their listeners had to say about this topic as well. They gave new ideas, so I absolutely love the direction their podcast is going, and yeah, it's quite lovely to see that more and more of us are getting more and more mindful about this, and you're not jumping on the latest pretty print. And I have been very much doing this in the past. I have very much done this, but yeah, I really try now, even though every now and then of course I'm going to treat myself to something nice. I'm trying to make my stash work in priority before I go online and fall for the latest pretty print, really. So yes, and so I was glad that for my birthday I actually made this choice. I think it was a good omen of the year to come in my personal calendar, in a way. I really hope this doesn't come across as soapboxy, if I may employ this word, because that's not what I mean to do. I in no way judge what others are doing, because we're all doing things in our own time, in our own way, I'm sure, to try and live more sustainably. So, again, there's absolutely no judgment in this, but it's just something that I feel very strongly about, and that I think it may be useful to others as well to talk about. Yes. I think the only modification I did, the only alteration I did, was a lazy one. You are supposed to have spaghetti straps that you sew very, very narrow tubes and turn them inside out, which is something I absolutely loathe doing, and especially I just couldn't see myself do this with this kind of fabric. So what I did was use some lingerie straps that I had in my stash. The colour is pretty spot on. It's not exactly the same purple. I don't know how well you will be able to see this. It's not exactly the same purple, but I think honestly, I think it's okay, and I do like the effect because it does have this very professional finish to it, and you do need some you know, sliders and rings to finish the straps, which I really liked. So yeah, I feel very va-va-voom when I'm wearing this. Which sometimes is great, you know, when you feel a little down in the mouth. I think it's great to just, I mean, in my, you know, personally, I love to dress up, and it really helps me feel things are going to be okay. So I briefly mentioned in the previous episode that I did use Instagram quite a lot in May. So even though I didn't podcast in May, I was quite active on Instagram because of Me Made May. And I figured the best way to participate this year was through the stories on Instagram, because, you know, they only last for 24 hours, so it was a great format. What I like about the stories as well is that I personally tend to snap a quick picture for the stories as opposed to my main page, my main grid on Instagram, where I like to have something that is, you know, more carefully done. So it was a great way for me to just, you know, snap a picture in 1 minute, put it up, and it was done. And so if you want to, if you're interested, and you've missed my my Me Made May makes photos, you can find them all on my main profile on Instagram. There is a highlight just above my my pictures with my Me Made May pictures. So I only missed quite just a few days of taking pictures. I obviously always wore me-made things because in real life anyway it's very rare when I'm not wearing something handmade. But yeah, it was so very fun to see what everyone else was wearing for Me Made May. So yes, and of course, as always, Me Made May is a great time to take stock of what you have and what you enjoy wearing versus what you don't really wear, and of course of what you still miss in your wardrobe. And I think there are really two things that I still miss in my wardrobe. The one blatant thing is jeans, because I have been wearing, because May was quite chilly here, I actually did wear jeans oftener than I usually do. So I'm pretty much always in dresses, you know, but because I wanted to wear my handmade, hand-knit tops, most of the time they went really well with jeans, so I really have to bite the bullet and make the Ginger Jeans by Closet Case patterns this year. I absolutely have to do this. The other luck that I found is that I still use a store-bought cardigan that I bought at least a decade ago, probably a decade and a half ago, but that is a very thin layer, you know, of cotton. So I think the Blackwood cardigan by Helen's Closet would be a great one to replace this. And Helen's Closet, of course, is one of the podcasters of Behind the Love to Sew podcast that I previously mentioned. So that is all for my personal makes, meaning things that I've made for myself. All the rest is for other people. So there's been a lot of selfless sewing lately. I mentioned this last time I recorded in episode 60, because I had already started on this. And this phrase, selfless sewing, is something that the Sew Over It team has been using, that Lisa Comfort introduced. I think it was for the month of April, I think, but I just had it, you know, I just extended it well into June. So yeah, so I actually exclusively made things for little ones. So this episode is going to be very oriented towards sewing for kids, really, which may not be everyone's cup of tea. So I would completely understand if you wouldn't, you know, watch all, you know, throughout the episode if you're interested, obviously. But I know a lot of us do enjoy sewing for kids, so hopefully this will give you a few ideas, point you in the direction of a few patterns. So yes, let's get going. So first of all, I made something that I cannot show you in person because it's since reached its destination. If you remember last time, I made a brisé romper for my good friend Julie for her little girl. And I made the same pattern for my also good friend Liz, who is Liz Taylor, whom I have mentioned repeatedly in the past several episodes. And so she has a little boy who is over 6 months old now. And so I made her the same romper, so I didn't think of shooting a little video for this. I do have pictures which you will be seeing now, but you will of course have seen this romper in the making in my intro videos. So yes, it's a really nice little pattern. Again, I mentioned this in episode 60, so the Breezy Romper by Brindille and Twig. And for this I used some Lederstoff organic cotton jersey that I had in my stash that I'd shown you previously, which is with seagulls and waves. And this is my first garment in which I only used silver snaps, metal snaps, like these. And yeah, I'm completely converted to these now. They are really great. I actually got some more of these for other garments for my son especially. So I'm not sure how well this will show, but I got this set for my son because I do have a few fabrics still that are in those shades of blue. And yeah, so I really recommend this little romper. It's super cute with the elastics at the thighs. So I do hope her little boy will enjoy wearing this. Another gift that I made was for my niece who visited us a few weekends ago. In May we had a long weekend, and my younger sister, whom I absolutely adore, she's only 1 year younger than me, so we have a very twin-like relationship, and she lives in Paris, but she came and visited with her family. She has 3 kids, and her oldest daughter, who just turned 5, stayed with us the entire time. So I will be including a little video of this now for you to see, because I did film it before I sent it off. So here is the little skirt I made for my niece, who is about to turn 5, hence my need to send this off very soon. She was very taken with my sewing and my dresses, and she's a very, very girly girl. She loves pink and sparkles and dresses, and very unlike my own daughter in this respect. And so she picked her fabric, and I made her a skirt based on one she already had that she wore when she was here. So I took her measurements, I took the length of the skirt she already had, and I just made a very simple, you know, gilded skirt at the waist. It's a rectangle with elastic at the waist, a pretty wide elastic. You may recognise this fabric because it's the fabric my daughter used for the top she sewed in February, and we also have enough for my daughter to make something for herself to go with her top, and she actually already cut out culottes out of this fabric, but yeah, it was enough for both girls to have something out of it. And so for added fun, I added this little pom-pom trim. The thing is, once I was done with the skirt, I just felt there was something missing and it just wasn't fun enough. And so I added this little trim at the bottom. My daughter helped, you know, she picked it with me at the shop. And I really do think it adds something very fun to the whole little skirt. I really think it puts it, you know, it ties it together. And yeah, it really looks like a tutu somehow. So I think she will be really happy with this, and I think it will also remind her of that time she spent with us here. And I can't wait for her to come back because it was absolutely wonderful to have her, you know, staying with us, and you know, to connect with her. So yeah, that's the little skirt for my niece. So after this, I made some things for my own daughter. So you may remember last year that I made her a Corfu dress by Ikatee, which is a great dress because it's super easy to make, and because you don't have many seams, it is a great way to make the most of pretty prints. And these are completely my daughter's style because you don't have that many frills. My daughter doesn't have the same kind of taste as her cousin, so this is perfect for her because she can really be adventurous in this, and it's it's quite roomy, so it breathes, so it's great. I really want to show you the print, which are these super cute little girls with their kitties in having a picnic. I absolutely love it. And yeah, so my daughter obviously also loves this print. So I did have two fabrics set aside for two Corfu dresses for her, and I asked her which one she wanted first, and she said this one, which I completely understand. Yes, this is a Lillestoff organic jersey fabric again. They have so many prints, Lillestoff, for kids, but also for grown-ups. I just had a glimpse of their summer collection, which is going to launch soon, and it's absolutely amazing. Yeah. So as you can see, it's a very simple dress, it's gathered at the waist with an elastic. You are supposed to have an opening at the back, a keyhole opening, which I did for her first Fox version, but I omitted here because actually this closes with a button, and my daughter has extremely long hair, and it typically gets caught in the buttons, and because it's super long, it really can get quite tangled in it. So I actually ripped out the button in her Fox version and replaced the button and loop with some ribbons, which is super cute, but in fact we never use it. You don't even need to open up the ribbon to pull the dress on. So I just figured I just wouldn't do the step for this one. I do always add a little loop of ribbon at the back, so that it's easy for her to get dressed in the morning and to figure out what is the back and what is the front. So yeah. Just one caveat about this pattern: it does run super large. So for this version, because I made it last year in a size 5 years. My daughter is 6 now, and she's pretty, right in the average size range. So I did lengthen this by quite a few centimeters so that it wouldn't be too short, and so that she could get a couple of years of wear out of it. But I remember the 5-year version, the first time I made it, was super wide, and it didn't cinch her in at the waist at all. So I did have to rip out the elastic and redo it, and in the end I think I cut out a 50 centimeter length of elastic, which is, if you look at the table of measurements on the pattern, it is actually below the smallest, the 3-year size, which is a bit strange because my daughter is not. My daughter definitely has a slender build like mine, but she's not like super skinny, so I don't know, that's a bit strange. And still, even with the 50 centimeters, it definitely cinches her way less than you can see on the pictures of the pattern page, web page. But still, we really do like it. I wouldn't want her to be too cinched in anyway, because I don't think it would be as comfortable. So that's just right, I think. And what she doesn't know is that I already made her a second Corfu dress, which I'm saving for a rainy day. Not literally a rainy day, but a day when she really does need a pick-me-up, does need to be cheered up. I like to have a little, as I mentioned on Instagram, I'd like to have a little stash of gifts for my kids in case of, they have a big sorrow of any sort and they need to be cheered up. So this is what she'll be getting next time she needs to be cheered up. And this is my favourite of all the 3 dresses I've made her. This is definitely my favourite. I absolutely adore this print. This is Parpy, so also organic, also from Europe, this time from Finland. You know how much I love Parpy prints. And I could well see myself have a top actually in this print as well for myself. But I absolutely love these apple blossoms. It's so fresh and it's light blue. My daughter has blue eyes, so it's going to be perfect for her. I did make this one a little shorter, but as you can see, I did make a deeper hem, so I'll be able to undo the hem and as you can see, to undo the hem and redo a smaller hem, so that to lengthen the dress if it's too short next year. But I think she's going to be quite happy about this. She has no clue I made this. So yes, that is such a perfect pattern for my daughter, and I just love how quickly I can whip one up now, especially now that I know really well my way around this pattern. So yes, I also of course made things for my little boy, and in fact I'm sure you can see in the background here how much my stash of fabrics for kids has shrunk. I think you may recall a few episodes ago I showed you my fabrics here. These are my kids' fabric, jersey fabrics, and as you can see it has considerably shrunk, and I actually have used so much of my kids' fabric. I have hardly anything left really, which is wonderful. That's exactly the way I wanted to go. So first of all, I made an outfit for my boy out of this combo of also organic jersey, so little foxes, as you can see, with this matching turquoise fabric. This comes from Tissu.net, and it's their own range of organic fabric, knit fabric. So these are the little pants. See, I did also the cuffs in the contrasting fabric, and so this pattern is you also have this adorable little gusset also that is in the contrasting fabric. And so this pattern is one of the newest patterns by Brindille and Twig. It is their banded pants, and to match I made this tee, which is a little bit crinkled because I don't iron my children's clothes. I really don't have time for this because, as you know, if you have kids, they get wet, they get washed, and a huge amount, especially as my little boy doesn't have that many clothes, summer clothes, because I've just been wanting to make them, so I haven't been buying him anything this year for summer. So there is quite a quick turnaround in terms of his clothes. So yeah, it is a bit crinkly. That's life. That's mummy's life anyway. And so yes, so you can see here, of course, the main fabric is the foxes, and then the contrasting bands are the turquoise. It is quite long actually, this one, so I'm considering shortening it, especially I'm not super happy with the hem. I think the choice of black was rather unfortunate. It shows way too much, and it does time to ride up, so I'm going to redo the hem and probably add a band here actually. So we'll see that. I'm going to try and do that pretty shortly. So in terms of the little pants, so I did a 3-year size for these. For all of the little kids, the little boys things I made. So in terms of the pants, I did add some elastic inside, because so what they have you do in the instructions is slit a little hole at the front and may insert just a cord, to tie it at the waist. And I didn't do that. I thought it wouldn't be needed, but it is needed, so it tended to fall off. So instead of adding just some drawstring, I did add some elastic at the waist. And so after this, and I'm so excited about this one because it's a fabric I've had since my little boy was born, and it's one of my favourite Poppy prints, and here it is. It's so, so, so cute. I absolutely adore this. I just love this so very, very much. So, you know, little monsters / cuddly toys, I absolutely love it. And I only had 50 centimeters of this, and I initially bought it to make him some, you know, a romper when he was a newborn, and I didn't get around to it. And then, of course, with 50 centimeter height, you can't do a full height romper it's because my son grew so fast. Like, he was in 3 months clothed by 1 month, so it already was too short to make him a romper. But the wonderful thing is, out of 50 centimeters of fabric, you can get a whole little outfit for a 2-year-old who wears 3-year-old clothes, such as this. So it is the same outfit as the one I just showed you. So the little bandit pants, this time I made them a little shorter. Actually, I made them per the pattern specifications. These ones are longer than the pattern. And so, yes, these are exactly like as the pattern. So I did add some white ribbing this time. It's so fresh, don't you think, with the white? So yes, white ribbing. I just love the way the little beasts are mirrored on each leg. Absolutely love this detail. And as I'm not sure if you'll see, but the back, it is a well-designed pattern because the back is considerably higher than the front, which is great, of course, for babies or toddlers who are still in nappies. So yes, super soft and comfortable because it's a Poppy fabric. So the Poppy fabrics are particularly soft. So yes, so this is the aqua colorway, and again, little loop for the ladies at daycare to easily put this on. Yeah, but again, I didn't add the drawstring, and I will definitely be adding a drawstring here because I thought, because I'd used some ribbing, it would be, and I used a smaller piece of ribbing, shorter than indicated, I thought it would be okay, but it still tends to ride down, so I will be adding some drawstring to this one. But my son looks so incredibly cute in this. It's absolutely precious. So that is it for all my makes for my little ones and my friends' little ones. My daughter has also been busy. She's in the process of making the Brindille and Twig culottes, which I think are their latest pattern, and I had been looking for a pattern for culottes for kids for a few weeks. So the minute I saw these were published and there was a discount for the first few days, I just jumped on it, and it's a wonderful pattern for a child who is learning to sew. As you know, if you followed the podcast before, my daughter wants to make her own wardrobe. She isn't interested in learning to sew through making bags or home dec objects. She is interested in making garments like I do. Sorry. So this one is a great one for this because it only has 2 pieces to cut out, and actually they're the same piece for the front and the back, and you don't have many seams, so it's just almost straight seams, so it's perfect for a kid or anyone learning to sew, really. So I've been really on the lookout for patterns that would work well for her to sew on her own. So she did cut this out on her own, and I just wanted to show you, because I'm so in awe of the way she cuts this. She cut her fabric, but how exact of a job she did. So I'm not sure how well you will see this. So she's using the leftover from her top so that she has a matching outfit. I'm not sure how well you will see this, but it is cut so very, very precisely. I honestly wouldn't do a better job myself. So yes, proud mama moment here, but yeah, so I look forward to our sewing this. So what happens is that she's the one at the sewing machine. I just help her guide the fabric through the machine, but she's the one sitting and pushing on the pedal. And she also pins her fabric herself, and she's very, very proud of this. The other day we were walking, it was Sunday, we were walking, taking a walk in the botanical garden, which is one of my favourite parts of Montpellier. And when you see, most of the time, in the last few episodes, episode 61 and 62, this episode, the flowers I have shown all come from the botanical gardens. And so she was telling me that life always, she always felt, and we always felt happier when we were wearing handmade clothes that we'd made ourselves, because she was wearing her own handmade top. So I'm not sure if it's something that I probably told her something to this effect a few weeks or months ago, and it just stayed in her head, but it just, really made my day that she thought this as well, really, because I completely agree with this, obviously. So in terms of my sewing projects for the few weeks to come, I do have a little romper cut out for my little boy. And it is the tank top romper by Brindille and Twig. You know how much of a fan I am of Brindille and Twig patterns. So it's a very easy pattern because you only have 2 pattern pieces and then the bands for the armholes and leg openings and neckband. So yes. So last year I made him, I think, a size 2 years, and so this year I'm making him a size 3 years. However, this weekend I tried the one I made last year on him, and it still fits, which is lovely in terms of length, because last year he wasn't walking yet, and babies who aren't walking, so that he was on the floor, crawling on the floor, so in a squatting position all the time, and so it did require quite a bit of fabric in terms of length. But this year he's walking, and so even though he's grown a lot since last year, he can still wear this. It's a little bit, it definitely won't last him until September, but he can still wear it, which I'm glad about because it's another Parpy print that I absolutely love. So for this one, I realised once I'd made the romper for Lise's baby that I had just enough fabric for this particular pattern. So that was great because I really love this fabric. So it's the seagulls with with waves, and I absolutely love it. So yes. So this is the front. Of course it's folded, and this is the back, and oh yes, that's my life, really. Printing these on recycled paper, so that is quite interesting actually, because half of it is Seb's work and half of it is my work. That's grand. But yeah, yeah. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to making this and to using these for it, since you have the perfect matching blue in there, so that's going to be perfect. Also white would work well actually. Then I also cut out a penny dress for me, so that I'm super excited about this. I have been wanting to make this dress since it came out last year. I know it's been one of the most popular patterns, PDF patterns by So Over It Lisa mentioned this in one of her recent vlogs on YouTube, and the So Over It channel, and so I finally cut out mine, and I can't wait to make it. So just to give you an idea, this is the skirt, and it's just one half of the skirt because this is cut on the fall, so that's completely insane, isn't it? Look at that. But yeah, at least you can see my fabric here, which is a very pretty cotton print, floral cotton print. And I think it's going to be such a fresh summer vacation holiday dress, don't you think? I think I'm going to wear this so very, very much. Yeah. I'm very, very excited about this. when I was a teenager, I kept wearing a dress, a shirt dress. So this is a half shirt dress because you have a shirt dress to the waist and then it's the full skirt. And it has an elasticized waistband. But when I was a teenager, I kept wearing a dress that was super special because my grandma had sewn it for my mum when she was a teenager. And it was a shirt dress in a lightweight cotton as well. I absolutely loved wearing this dress. It was gathered at the waist as well, so yes, I'm quite keen to make, you know, maybe making a couple of shirt dresses. So yes, so it's quite funny because I was a bit out of inspiration for my own sewing, for my own wardrobe, and so that's when I started to make all these little things for little ones, and now I'm just back on track and back enjoying you know, being in my sewing room, and yes, I'm super happy about this. Another dress came out, also a shirt dress, a half shirt dress should I say, that I really loved, and it is the Myosotis pattern by Deer & Doe. So I'm sure you've heard of it or seen it. The Fold line featured it in one of their recent videos, probably the May publications or something, the May releases. And I'm going to make this version with I was especially taken with the ruffle. You know, the fact that you have these, so this very gathered waist and then the ruffle, and I really like that. It's a very loose fitting dress, which is very much the fashion at the moment. And honestly, and it was also last year already, and honestly, last year I thought it wouldn't work well in me because I have such a small build. But recently I saw a lady in the street who was about the same build as me, and she had this kind of dress, very loose fitting dress, gathered at the waist with an extra ruffle at the back, at the bottom, sorry. And she looked smashing in it, so I thought maybe I could try and go on this bandwagon myself. I may not use sleeves at all though. I think that would be nice because I'm afraid if I also use the sleeves with, I'm not too keen on these sleeves, but I'm afraid if I use these sleeves which also have ruffles, I'm afraid that this might be quite a lot of fabric on me, you know, with the very full skirt and then a lot of fabric at the sleeves as well. I'm thinking maybe it might be a bit much. So I might just do a sleeveless version of this. I think it would be quite nice and perfect for the hot summer because it would be so breezy, you know. So yes, I have no idea what fabric I might use for this. They suggest chambray, rayon, twill, batiste, double gauze, which is all the rage, isn't it? Double gauze. I mean, I'm not sure in English-speaking countries, but the French sewing community is all about double gauze? Yeah, double gauze. And yeah, I'm not too sure, to be honest. I love it on little kids. I love it on babies. I'm not too sure on myself. I'm not sure. But yeah, so I don't know what I would use for this, and I might have to go shopping for some fabric. So I won't be doing it quite now, because I also fell in love with an absolutely stunning dress that just came out by Coralie Bijasson. So Coralie Bijasson is another French pattern designer. Her brand is called C'est moi le patron. And I received this today actually, so that was perfect timing for the podcast. And so I fell in love with this dress, which is extremely simple but so graceful. So she put pictures on Instagram and I was completely in love with this because it's got this very simple like band style top, and then it's just a very flowy dress with an empire waist. I can really see myself wear this over the summer, and I think I have some fabric in my stash that is going to be perfect for this. It is a viscose that I bought last year. Last year I did go on quite a viscose shopping spree, but it is a gorgeous, pretty much this kind of saturation. Yeah, it is this kind of saturation in terms of colour, but it is a like very dark, very deep fuchsia. So on the pinker side of this, and I think it's going to be absolutely stunning. And I think it's going to be the perfect drape for this. Although, to be honest, if you don't want to use a man-made fibre such as viscose, a cotton, poplin, broadcloth or lawn would be perfect as well. Or chambray would be amazing as well on this. I think it would be absolutely lovely. So yes, viscose is a plant fibre, so it is going to be biodegradable, which is great, but the manufacturing process for viscose, and that is the reason why I did purchase some of it last year, because it is a wonderful fabric. It has this lovely drape. You know, it's also lovely to wear, very breathable, but on the downside, the manufacturing process of viscose is very, it does take a big toll on the environment, on our planet, because of the chemicals used, of the water used, and so on and so forth. So I do have a few cuts of beautiful viscose, most of it made in Europe, which is a good thing. So I will obviously be using it since it is in my stash, but I definitely will try and refrain from purchasing more viscose in the future, which is difficult because there are some amazing fabrics that are being made in viscose. Atelier Brunette, for instance, makes gorgeous viscose, but also other makers as well. So it's quite difficult to resist the temptation. But I honestly, I was so, one of the phrases that Aidan Owen used in his interview on Love to Sew podcast was to the effect that sometimes you don't have to own something you admire. You can just admire it, look at it, love it, online, you know, but it doesn't necessarily have to make its way to you. And that was a huge eye-opener for me. Yeah. So yes. So I'm determined to continue on this path. Of course, all these new plans, because these new patterns came out, and I do want, you know, it's a very difficult balance to strike between wanting to support indie designers who work so hard at giving us original designs, and or yarn makers or fabric makers who work so hard at developing some beautiful things and meaningful things. So it's also always very hard to strike a balance between wanting to support them and not, you know, trying not to add too much to the sash. So it does mean, though, these new additions and these new plans do mean that my Make 12 projects plans, it's so funny because in terms of my knitting, I have followed through so well, and in terms of my sewing, not at all. Which is funny because in January I thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought I was going to be easily striking everything off my Make 12 list in sewing, and I did make a few things, obviously, but I have definitely been replacing some of the dresses I wanted to make with other plans, which is completely fine, you know. We keep evolving, changing our mind, growing, changing our taste, and that is all part of, I guess, just being human, isn't it? Okay, I am filming this little clip a few days, actually a week after I filmed the episode, because hence the change of dress, because since then I received a very darling little handmade gift, and also I had forgotten to share about another gift, very special handmade gift that I received recently. So the first gift I received is this beautiful little cotton pouch, which is very much my style, floral and blue, and this is containing a sustainable gift which I absolutely love, which are washable pads for your face. So one side is absolutely super pretty with this very delicate blue floral, again absolutely my style, and then the other side is some very, very soft bamboo. So I received quite a few of them, not all of them are here because I've been using them, and so this was very kindly made for me by my friend Lise, whom I mentioned earlier in the episode, whom I mentioned pretty much in every episode I film, because we're really good friends, and also she inspires me hugely. And she sent this along with her book, which is a French book about knitting, which is a wonderful book about updating really the knitting vocabulary and styles, and I feel knitting books in France tend to be rather old-fashioned and haven't really taken into account the huge changes that have been going on in terms of, you know, circular knitting, ravelry and so on. And so this is a way to amend this, and it's a really, really great book with beautiful illustrations, beautiful photographs that Lise took herself actually. And as another gift, she actually gave me, she created postcards, or maybe the editing house, Erol, created postcards out of some of the beautiful pictures in there, and she sent them to me, which was a wonderful gift. So I'm definitely going to use them to, I really love this one. I'm definitely going to use them to, you know, in my sewing room. This is actually part of, you know, if you watch Lise's podcast, you will, her podcast is in French, but you will definitely recognise it. This is her entry picture into her podcast, her intro picture rather. So I'm definitely going to put them into, you know, to display them in my sewing room. So thank you so much, Liz. You really, as you know, this came at the perfect time, and it was hugely appreciated. And then another very good friend of mine, also French, Marie, who is La Fée du Fond des Bois on Instagram, meaning the fairy inside the woods, to translate roughly. And she is an incredible maker as well. She makes a lot of very delicate, very detailed things with lots of, you know, handmade and well thought out touches. It's very whimsical, really delicate things. And she has been making these circular needle pouches lately. She designed this herself and she sent me one, and it is super pretty. So it's my, you know, I have two favourite colours, and these are both them, and both are in floral, so my friends know me very well and they're very, very thoughtful. So as you can see, I absolutely love this button. It's actually two buttons that are staggered and super pretty. You see how well she matches her prints. And then inside, this is how it is inside, with the little cases here for the points of your needles. And this is to loop your cables around, which is very, very clever. So as you can see, you undo this, another super pretty button, and so you can loop your cables over this, which is really, really clever. And there was this very, very lovely badge in there as well. I hope this is focusing, but it's super pretty, that Marie makes a lot of as well. She gave others in the past as well. She gave me others in the past as well. And the reason why I'm wearing this dress today is maybe the more beady-eyed amongst you will have noticed. But this is actually the same print, just a different colour. And I don't think Marie is aware of this, but doesn't it show just how well she's, you know, how much she has my number, really? How crazy is this? So yes, a very, very special gift, and very thoughtfully sent to me at a time when I really needed some love. And so yes, Marie is a really, really special person. She makes amazing things, so I highly recommend her Instagram account. She is really talented, and she really has her own aesthetics and her own poetry, really, of making. So thank you very much, Marie, and thank you, Lise, for these very, very thoughtful gifts. So lastly, for this episode, I just wanted to share one fabric purchase that I did make, which is this small piece of Rico design fabric, which is so incredibly cute. So it's jersey, cotton jersey. I just love it because it has all these neon pink accents and I think it's so fun. So it's a small cut, it's a 1 meter by 70 centimeters, so it's going to be good for, you know, definitely for my son. I could also make a t-shirt for my daughter out of this, but I don't know, I just feel it for my son. We'll see. Unless my daughter claims it for herself. I don't know, we'll see. But I think it would look so cute in this. So with this, my one fabric purchase since quite a few months actually, I will leave you. I do hope you enjoyed this sewing episode, and I really hope I will be able to come back to the podcast on a more regular basis in the weeks and months to come. So because I do have lots of plans obviously, and I do hope to follow through with those plans. So thank you so much for watching. I hope your own making is going really, really well. So I hope to see you in just a few weeks, and in the meantime, I hope your making brings you joy. Bye bye.